why is customer obsession Amazon's #1 most important and first leadership principle? Hello, everybody. My name is Holly Lee. I have been a career coach practically my entire life, but in the last 20 plus years, I have a privilege to work for companies such as Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, Facebook, where I have learned a ton and also helped Amazon develop and hang out with a lot of the bar racers and interview training for tech and non-tech. I basically created a course called VIP Coaching, which is tailoring to every single thing that I have learned in my 25 years of career, including 5 years as an entrepreneur, to help you really carve out what is it that you are missing, why is it that you cannot pass the job interview that you want. But if you're truly new, you could start by downloading my free star download. This is the most innovative thing I've ever done. If you are a people manager or principal level on a higher caliber, this is my biggest business impact during my time at Amazon, how I built and scaled an international team for Amazon Business, which is now worth over $10 billion. Let's get started. Customer obsession. So why is customer obsession Amazon's #1 most important and first leadership principle? And why is it my ultimate favorite? If I have to talk about anything until the cow comes home, that would be customer obsession. Because when Jeff Bezos started building this business, if you haven't watched his documentary, it's actually on Amazon Prime. How ironic is that, right? It's called Bezos. Watch it. It tells you how Amazon was born, how he was so obsessed and focused on innovation in building everything by listening, by hearing, solving the consumer, which means customer like you and I's problem, in bringing books and online store to this thing called internet decades ago. How he was also having conversation with the CEO at the time on Barnes and Noble, and how he was able to have big ideas and even represented the internet theory to the man, and no one understood what internet is at the time. So if you're asking why customer obsession is the biggest thing that you must have on all your interviewed answer, all of them, doesn't matter. I don't care if you're interviewing for Amazon or J. Schmo, John Doe, it doesn't matter what company it is. If you guys don't make the interviewer feel that you can develop and earn trust from the customer, which means what? Who are you delivering to? How are you delivering to it? And what was the end result? You're not going to get hired. If you don't meet the bar having customer-centric obsession, you're not going to get the job. It doesn't matter if you meet all of the LP for Amazon as an example. For other companies as well, you don't want to come off vague. You don't want to come off generic. So customer obsession in theory is really assessing your background in what the customer's needs are. Do you care about your customer? Do you care about customer satisfaction? What is your approach in problem solving that are focused on the environment and benefits of how you add value to your customer? Is it internal customers or is it external customer? If it's external, who is it? Is it your partners? Are they vendors? Who is it? So be very, very specific. Another example is, how do you gather and incorporate customers' feedback into your work? This is actually a tough question. So this question is really looking in a way of how you approach the problem. What type of work have you done to utilize customers' feedback into building a strategic plan in solving the actual problem? Another one is, how do you stay informed with industry trend and changes in customers' preferences? This actually, all of the questions are my favorite, because not just Amazon, but a lot of the employer as well, you want to make sure you have a library of questions and you want to rotate them, right? Because no interviewer is going to be using the same thing because it's really boring. An interviewer also need to be very familiar with these type of questions so that they could stop saying, tell me about a time, or how do you do this? How do you do that? They will slowly have their authentic self in being creative in asking the same questions, but adding more personality. So in theory, how do you stay on top of market and industry trend in changing your customers' preferences? So this is staying informed about the customer's needs and the market dynamic and how you can add value and benefits to their need, whatever product and services your customer have at this time. Above and beyond for your customer, that's one of the things that companies like Amazon absolutely ask you. So let's start with that. This is an example from a manager who manages a team a product manager or a partner manager is another title for this. Operational manager is very similar. Program manager is also very similar as well. In theory, this is a PM example. I am a big fan of the STAR method. I did not invent it, the STAR method, nor did Amazon. No one knows who really, but it's been around for so long. But I appreciate the foundation of the STAR method and twist it into my own Holly Lee coaching way. So you can work with or watch 10 different YouTubers who explain the same thing and will be all very different. In your situation, when I was a senior product manager at ABC company, I purposely did not disclose this individual's company so you can't Google them and LinkedIn them and ask them for marketing email and stuff. Your T is really, what problem are you trying to solve? What is your goal? You can simply, if you don't know, don't give me a paragraph. Don't give me 3 sentences. No one wants to know about in 2019. No date, no time frame. Simply just say, my goal is. What is your goal in solving this customer's problem? Or the problem I'm trying to solve is what? Simply this is. I need to engage, enable, and equip the partners and help them become premier to enjoy the highest benefits. Name one of the many benefits, just one, the biggest one. Always name the biggest highlight. All of them are top listed companies based in China, such as who? At least give me 1, 2, or even 3, but don't be so long-winded. You should not have more than 1 or 2 sentences in this category. Again, it is what you're trying to solve. No one wants to hear about anything else outside of that. When you do that, the interviewers, specifically at Amazon, are going to thank you. You know why they're thanking you? Is because they know what you're solving for. Let's go to your action plan. Your action plan is, I did a survey and with individual interviewed to each partner and found that they feel the bar needs to be lowered. Salesperson always only co-sell with existing premier partners. Those partners have high potential, but their income revenue occupies 90% of the total IT market in Asia. It's worth it for ABC company, which is the company you're working for, to invest. So I ease the standards, simplify the process, and minimize the partner's cost to accelerate the adoption rate within 1 year. Because of my effort, I was able to motivate and attract 100% of the partner revenue growth from $80,000 to $2+ million a year. If you're interviewing for FANG, specifically Amazon, they go crazy when you compare data A to data B, okay? When you're saying, yeah, I helped them generate $2 million, that's great, but what was it before? And, oh, okay, I see, wow, that is a big difference. You see where I'm going here? Another thing to be considered with this specific example is you want to make sure that you're setting the interviewer up. Interviewers, if you're Amazonian watching me, plug your ears. You want to set them up in your action plan when you already know what kind of probing question they're going to ask you, right? I said creating a standard, simplifying the process, minimizing the partner's cost to accelerate adoption rate. So one of my very top questions is, number one, how do you simplify the process? What is the process? What is your strategies around that? How do you deal with ambiguity into aligning your partners and internal teams? How do you collaborate, and what are some of the hiccups? I'm just making this up. If it was me being sat on the other table, this is exactly what we talk about in the VIP coaching during mock interview. So you want your action plan to be so authentically well written where you're setting up the interviewer to ask you those questions. And that is when you dive deep. An answer does not need to be 10 minutes. Another thing to keep in mind is when you're creating your answer, I'm assuming that all of you watch a lot of different YouTubers, articles, and whatnot. Take everything as a grain of salt. For me, my ultimate goal is to provide content that are concise to you and you know how to create your story quickly and to get you to trim down in no more than 60 seconds. That example that I just gave you is 30 seconds, by the way. Hang on, before you disagree how short that is, Amazon did not taught me the 60-second elevator pitch. I created that because of Amazon, you see? Because when I used to go into my executive leadership meeting and the meeting would be scheduled for 30 minutes, no one's going to listen to you for 30 minutes, by the way. I talk about the research from Microsoft, Harvard Business Review, the workplace statistic globally. On a global scale, our human attention span is 8 seconds. If you are long-winded more than 30 seconds, you gotta be extremely phenomenal in keeping the listener entertained or you will lose them. So why not just create an answer with all the buzzword and let them crave for more and ask you to dive deeper? They're not gonna ding you for not diving deep because they understood what you've done and how you solved the problem. They just wanted to learn more. So what do you want it to avoid? The number one biggest reason why you cannot pass any job interviewed is because you're being too generic. There's no secret sauce here. You're generic without having a specific problem that you're solving for a specific customers. If you're trying to solve a problem for partners, you can say partners, but as mentioned in the earlier example, give a couple example with some of those partners, 1, 2, or 3 if you have them. Most likely if it's international or smaller partnership, the interviewer don't know who they are. That's why I don't really recommend just, Jane Doe, John Schmo, like company I have never heard of. They don't care. I hate to say that. I hate to sound so cutthroat, especially right now during the recession. Yes, we're still in the recession, and a lot of the companies are interviewing a massive amount of people to fill that 1 or 2 role they have. So they gotta move quick. You have to think of things with terminologies and the highest caliber in how you solve the problem. Show your action plan. How did you deliver results with a customer in mind? How did you dive deep into the research and figure out what the issues were? What your discovery, clearly, what was your strategic plan in solving the problem? You know right off the bat, they're going to ask you, who did you align with? Who did you collaborate with? How did you get the buy-in? And you know they're going to ask you about data and matrix, right? You know they are, especially if you're non-tech. It's all about what data, what analytical research, what are you showing to your internal stakeholder, leadership, or customers to help them? So you got to be paired with a lot of that stuff, especially when you're aiming for a company such as Amazon. Let me know if what I just said about the Amazon leadership principle number 1, customer obsession, makes sense. Now that you know why it is so important to always be thinking about your customer in all of your interview answer and not just customer obsession. That is why when I teach in my coaching, I don't teach you to just focus on the LP. I teach you to think specifically on everything we just talked about in the actual interview questions. Make sure you know and be very clear on who you are delivering to. Who's the customer? What problem were you solving for? What was your action plan? How were you able to dive deep and come up with a game plan? How did you come up with a strategic approach? And how did you, or were you able to influence others to be on the same page? And because of all of that effort, what was your end result? Compare data. Don't just say that because of me, they were able to make their customer happy. That's so vague. Be specific, guys. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. I will see you all next Tuesday.